Afternoon to you with Newsfeed, where we start with the news that broke just half an hour ago, developing, of course, through the afternoon. The leader of the ANC Women's League, Bathabile Dlamini, former Minister of Social Development in the Cabinet, found guilty today of perjury. The former minister's court case being heard in the Johannesburg High Court. Dlamini gave false evidence under oath at an inquiry instituted by the Constitutional Court in 2018 in pertaining to the Sassa payments. There are various role players, various people to speak to about this. Nicole Fritz is currently at the Helen Suzman Foundation. She was with the Council for the... she was, of course, with Freedom Under Law, an organization very much at the center of this case, one of the people who made sure that this case went to the Constitutional Court. Nicole, good afternoon to you. This is a very important development. A former cabinet minister, the former person in charge, if you like, of the social grants payment system, finally being found guilty of lying under oath. It's an extraordinary judgment.
It is extraordinary, and this is an important moment in terms of ensuring that there is accountability for what was an unprecedented crisis in respect to social grants that potentially imperiled the distribution of grants to millions of South Africans. Around a third of our population receives such grants, and her actions endangered their receipt of such grants.
I mean, essentially, you had a private company, Paymaster Solutions. They were making a fortune at the time. If I remember correctly, she just simply, and I think it was her decision, along with others, but she was the minister, the responsible minister, just simply refused to stop using this company. If I remember correctly, again, despite Constitutional Court rulings that she should stop using this company.
Exactly. And that is the genesis of today's verdict. That the initial contract that had been awarded cash paymaster services had been declared unlawful by the Constitutional Court. But the Constitutional Court, appreciative of the vulnerability of social grants recipients, suspended that declaration because they didn't want to endanger or interrupt the distribution of social grants. They had put in place a supervisory jurisdiction mechanism, but on the basis of reassurances from Sassa that they had the matter in hand, that they were insourcing the capacity to, in fact, make payments of these grants themselves once the contract came to its end, they discharged that supervisory jurisdiction. And then at the 11th hour, Sassa approaches the court and essentially says, well, we actually, that was misleading. We don't have that in-house capacity. We're just going to simply have to extend this unlawful contract, and that's not going to be supervised in any manner. There's going to be no oversight of that. Minister Bathabile Dlamini instructs Sassa to withdraw that application to the court, which at least would have ensured some legal regularity and oversight. And it's only on the basis of Black Sash then going to the Constitutional Court and making the application is that extension of that initial unlawful contract supervised has the Constitutional Court's supervisory jurisdiction re-engaged, that there is proper oversight. But of course the court is concerned because its order has been thwarted. It never envisaged that this unlawful contract would be extended, certainly not without the proper supervision and oversight. And so they want to know who is responsible. Sassa comes to light. Sassa officials say that Minister Bathabile Dlamini had appointed parallel work streams, that they were essentially locked out of the decision-making process. The minister denies this, and it's for that reason that the Constitutional Court then appoints a Section 38 inquiry, which then leads to this recommendation. Well, not only a finding, an unprecedented finding that the former minister should pay costs in her personal capacity, but a recommendation from the court to the National Prosecuting Authority that it look at instituting charges of perjury against the former minister. And it is the verdict in respect of those charges that we see today.
I mean, in a way, this was all the result of deliberate action, if I understand you correctly, what you're suggesting. And I think, in a way, why there was an inquiry was that this was all deliberate action. It was deliberate to keep cash paymaster services in business for a lot longer. And the moment that contract ended, they packed up and left.
Well, that's right. So certainly the series of actions that were undertaken seem to have been intended to simply extend what, as I've said, was already an unlawful contract. It had been recognized as such by the Constitutional Court on the basis that there hadn't been the type of oversight and procedures followed when it was first awarded, and the actions of the former minister were going to lead to an extension of that contract with no oversight, with no supervisory jurisdiction. And we know it's not just that there was extensive enrichment on the part of that company of Cash Paymaster Services, and there is still action before the Constitutional Court on the part of Freedom Under Law, wanting to secure a proper accounting and verification of the profits that were garnered over the course of that contract. But as Black Sash so powerfully and compellingly put before the Constitutional Court, the rights of the social grants beneficiaries were so abused in that process. So their information was made available to various subsidiaries of Cash Paymaster Services and its company, its parent company Net1, so that there was all sorts of abuses perpetrated against the beneficiaries, among whom are the most vulnerable in this country.
I mean, to put it all another way, could it be said that some people who receive social grants ended up spending the money they're supposed to receive on social grants, on funeral insurance, for example, or other products, and as a result didn't quite realize what was happening, and this was because of the actions of the minister?
Exactly. That is the case, and of course, because their information had been made available, their bank accounts had been made available to Cash Paymaster Services and its parent company, it meant that oftentimes social grants beneficiaries would go to their accounts looking to attain their social grants, and finding that had already been taken out in order to pay off financial products that they had unwittingly bought, and that was incredibly difficult for them to then seek to exit and be released from.
There's going to be all sorts of things that will happen now. There might well be some reverberations in the governing party. Bathabile Dlamini is still, as I speak to you now, the leader of the ANC Women's League. She may well, of course, try and appeal this ruling today. I don't know if she'll have any luck with that, but let's see what happens with that. That's one for the lawyers. But, Nicole, this case took a very long time. The point I'm making is that people were sounding the alarm, the Constitutional Court, yourself, other organizations, Black Sash, years ago. And it's only now that there is some sense of, well, accountability for one of the people involved. And I don't think she was the only one.
No, that's right. I mean, as I've already indicated, there is a case that is still before the Constitutional Court relating to Cash Paymaster Services, and wanting to ensure that there is a proper auditing and verification of the profits that were obtained during the course of that unlawful contract. Freedom Under Law is hoping that there will ultimately be an order that those profits be returned to the fiscus, that they were unlawfully earned and should not be retained by Cash Paymaster Services. But these processes are long and arduous. But it speaks to the importance of persistence and the importance of days like today, when there is some form of accountability achieved, not in respect of all those who should pay the price, but certainly in respect of somebody who bears greatest responsibility for a crisis that really put in danger some of the poorest and most vulnerable in our country.
Nicole, Fritz, I really appreciate the time. Thank you very much indeed.